You can call me Shooresh. In Persian, the name means rebellion. I'm 37 years old and I've lived my whole life in an Iranian city. For my own safety and my family's, I can't give more details. If my true identity were ever discovered, I could be sentenced to death. In September 2022, the death of a young woman shook the country. Mahsa Amini, a 22-year-old Kurdish student, was arrested on September 13th for letting a few locks of hair escape from underneath her veil. She died from her injuries 3 days later, no doubt because she was beaten by security forces. Yet more injustice, but this was too much. At first, women took to the streets in protest. They were joined by young men, then the entire population, despite the danger. The woman, life, freedom movement had begun. I decided to take part in my own way, by doing what I know best. Taking my camera and filming, to document our anger and follow the fate of fearless protesters. A student, a taxi driver, a painter, a doctor, and a mother. Hello, Virginie. I don't know if you remember me. We crossed paths at the film festival. Our friend in common told me to contact you. I want to make a documentary about the revolt that's taking place right now in Iran. It's impossible for me to do that by myself from here. I'd like to have a co-producer with me on this project, and I thought of you. I could send you the footage, and you could do the editing in Europe.
Hello, Shooresh. I'm happy to hear that you're doing well. Of course I'd be interested, but you're well aware of the risks that could entail for you and even your family?
Yes, I know that, but I don't have a choice. We need to bear witness. The world needs to know. It wasn't easy. We'd have to take many precautions. Film as discreetly as possible, often with nothing more than a mobile phone. We had to use encrypted messages, change accounts and numbers, figure out new passwords to evade surveillance from the security services. But in the end, we managed to get our images and our stories to you. The first time I ever saw Mitra was when she came sprinting out of a side street, appearing suddenly amidst a cloud of tear gas. She was fleeing the police after taking part in a protest. I instinctively opened the car door, and she jumped inside without hesitating. I quickly understood that despite her appearance as a frail young girl, sitting next to me was one of the most determined members of the protest movement, always ready to rally others.
Hello, everyone. What are you doing? Why aren't you going outside? Tomorrow they're planning on executing 2 of our own. Now's the time to go out and protest. I'm pleading with you. Come, please. My name's Mitra. I'm 18 years old. I'm a student in my first semester of accounting. I was born and I grew up in a religious family. I'm a prisoner in my own home, and I rarely go out. I wake up in the morning without any goal, without knowing what to do. We Iranian women, we have no real future. Here a woman is worth half a man. She's considered a commodity. But if we fight today, it's because we're filled with hope. Beautiful things await us soon.
A few days after our meeting, Mitra leaves me a message. She wants to introduce me to someone. He's called Arash. He's 19, and they've been seeing each other for a little over a year, breaking one of the Islamic Republic of Iran's biggest taboos.
The first time that I saw Arash, I was out with one of my friends. The truth is that on that day, I didn't notice Arash. I'd only just started going out, and my mum didn't stop calling me. Then my friend said that this boy, who I didn't remember, had said that he liked me and that he wanted my number. We started speaking and got to know each other. But in Iran, it's very difficult to have a relationship, especially when you're 18 or 19. We have no freedom, and we can't do anything. If we go to the park, we'll be spotted by the police. In the streets, everyone watches us. And we can't even make love.
For example, one time, Mitra came to our house. We weren't doing anything in particular. We were sitting far from one another, and we were searching online. And my mother turned up. We weren't doing anything bad. But because a girl was with me in my home, it was disastrous for our reputation. My mom went completely crazy. She threw herself at us and slapped us both. What are you thinking about?
About freedom. Let's imagine that we're free. If we were free, we'd do whatever makes us happy. We would hold hands in the street.
And more than anything else, I'd really want to kiss you in the middle of the street.
Aside from these two young lovers full of hopes and dreams, it's almost impossible for me to find other participants. My fellow Iranians are too scared to tell their story.
Hello? Hello, how are you? Where are you? You were supposed to come.
Honestly, I've been thinking a lot. I can't come. And I'd advise you to abandon your project.
I started doubting whether it was a good idea to make a documentary. That changed one day when I was taking a taxi to cross to the other side of the city. After striking up a conversation, I quickly realized that my driver, Kaveh, was very implicated in the protest movement. Despite the risk, he immediately agreed to take part in our project.
In 5 minutes, I'll show you where members of the government and the mullahs live. Look, this belongs to our leaders. Look at all the space they have, in the best part of town. That all belongs to them.
I'm scared of filming. They have cameras.
Let me drive around again.
Can you roll your window up?
Look at this building. It belongs to the Imam of Friday prayers. It looks like a castle. 50 families could live in a building that big. I really wonder where they find all their money. The bastard. Look, he has a sticker of the former head of the Revolutionary Guard. I'm glad the Americans blew him to pieces. I'd love to have a Molotov cocktail right now. It's such a shame there's not much I can do. My name is Kaveh, and I'm 28 years old. When I was younger, my father was addicted to drugs. One day he left home and he never came back. I loved studying, so I decided to wash the dishes in a restaurant to help pay for my university studies. But I had to stop. I have no future here. When I see how the children of rich politicians and the mullahs live the good life, that they all live in Europe or in the United States, or here in rich neighborhoods, I think, what about us? We work all day and night for nothing. When you see our ordeal, why not protest in the streets? Everyone keeps telling me, you'll get yourself killed. So what? What's the point of living like this?
As I travel across the country, searching for new witnesses, I wonder, how did the Iranian people put up with this for so long? How did we survive in a country where everything is banned? Singing and dancing in public for women. Holding hands. Laughing in the street. Being happy. How did Iran produce so many thinkers and artists under the crushing weight of so much censorship? I decide to take a deeper look. Thanks to the help of a friend, I managed to get in touch with a young painter.
My name is Gulbahar. I'm 24 years old. I come from a well-off family. My father was never very strict. I was always able to live as I wanted. My mother did everything she could to avoid wearing the mandatory veil. She often ran into trouble with the regime because of that. I remember one incident that really left its mark on me. I sent one of my works to an exhibition, and it was accepted. It was a portrait of a woman with visible hair, and in the end, the curator of the exhibition hid the hair by covering it up with paper. That was very hard for me to take. After the death of Mahsa Amini, together me and several of my friends found the strength to paint a picture. It's the only thing I know how to do. I use my work to express my anger and to protest.
After each day of filming, I rush to send my footage to Virginie, who edits the documentary in Paris. And I delete the images from my hard disk. If I'm ever arrested, I mustn't have any footage on me. It's for the safety of myself and the people I filmed. But the internet network is extremely slow in Iran. The regime deliberately slows it down to make it hard for members of the opposition to talk to each other and to organize themselves. I have to use a VPN, a piece of software that puts my location abroad to access websites and avoid detection by security forces. Sometimes it takes more than 24 hours to send a few minutes of video. It had now been several weeks since I last heard from Mitra. I tried calling her. I tried finding out if something had happened to her. But I couldn't find any hint of her whereabouts. Then I finally heard from her. To break free from her religious family's overbearing supervision, she tricked them into thinking she was leaving to study in Tehran, several hundred kilometers away. She told them she'd be staying in a strict boarding house for young girls. But the truth is that she's keeping up the fight alongside her boyfriend Arash.
My family took me to the station and made me get on the bus. With Arash, we'd come up with a plan. He took a taxi and followed the bus. As soon as we were outside the city, I asked the bus driver to stop so I could get off. Arash was waiting with a taxi. We didn't know where to go. A boy and a girl walking alone at night can quickly attract the police's attention. We'd risk arrest. In the end, we hid under a bridge so that no one could see us. The next day, I left to find a place where we could sleep. And then I found an odd job. When you leave this evening, cover your face so you can't be recognized.
And you, don't forget that they're merciless. They beat everyone. Be careful. Stay by my side. Nothing will happen.
If they arrest me, I'll say that I don't know you.
We'll say that we're going shopping, that we're just passing by. But anyway, they're assholes, liars, and savages. They'll always have something to hold against you, even if you haven't done anything.
Arash, you shouldn't have washed them with that.
Why? It works well with that.
Let's scratch the bottom.
Okay.
Guys, this evening at 11 p.m. we'll meet at Station 7. Make sure you're wearing gloves, masks, hats, glasses, comfortable clothes, and appropriate shoes. You're used to it. We'll all meet up, and then we'll split up into groups of 2. And we'll do what we planned.
Since the start of the uprising, I've heard about doctors who treat wounded protesters in secret. Protesters who can't go into hospitals because they risk being found out by the regime. Dr. Sapani and his colleagues have decided to help the protest movement in their own way. After weeks of exchanges, I was finally able to earn his trust, and he let me accompany him on one of his rounds.
Okay, take a deep breath. Your heartbeat is normal. I'm going to examine your eyes now. All right, it doesn't look good. Your eye is infected. I'll go ask for advice from one of my colleagues. He's a specialist. I'll give you his number. That way you can talk to him directly.
Thank you, doctor.
You're welcome. I've been a doctor for 10 years. My father was a colonel in the Shah's Imperial Guard. He never left Iran after the Islamic Revolution, and so he was arrested. I was always opposed to the regime of the Islamic Republic, but I never took part in the demonstrations. To be honest, I was scared. But then the news began spreading of the death of a young woman, Mahsa Amini. I saw for myself the sharp rise in the number of injured and dead, because I was treating them firsthand as a doctor. I remember seeing a young girl who had been beaten so hard with a baton on her head that her eye had popped out of its socket. That was when I decided to do something, to do anything I could to help the wounded. Your scars are looking better. I'm going to remove the bandages now and take a closer look. There has been bleeding. I'm going to change the bandage.
I'm having lots of headaches and dizziness.
Don't worry. Let me check your blood pressure. You're feeling dizzy because of low blood pressure. I'll give you an IV and you'll feel better.
Since 1979 and the birth of the Islamic Republic of Iran, the people have tried to topple the regime several times. But for the first time, at the onset of February 2023, I felt like we may be getting close. In the streets, we witnessed scenes that I never thought I'd see. Young Iranians daring to publicly humiliate religious figures and leaders. But amidst our euphoria, the reality of daily life brought us back down to earth. I was supposed to be meeting Kaveh the taxi driver and activist, for the next part of our shoot. Instead, I found his mother in a state of despair in the middle of an apartment turned upside down.
It was 8 or 9 in the morning, and I heard some people knocking at the door. I went to open it. Several people burst in with their faces covered up. I didn't know them at all. I didn't know who they were or where they'd come from. They went into the room. Karve was sleeping. He'd come home earlier. They grabbed him and took him away. In my opinion, they must have been the secret services of the Revolutionary Guards. I'd heard that they burst in and take young people away. I have no idea what he's accused of. I haven't heard from him at all.
They didn't take anything from him? There was nothing suspicious?
They took his hard disk from his computer, but they didn't find anything else.
Mitra had, until now, managed to evade the police. Her parents still think she's in a regime-run boarding house several hundred kilometers away. But that doesn't stop them from keeping up the pressure.
Yes, Mum, hello. I told you I had class today. You've called me 10 times now. I'm in class, I can't pick up the phone. You're annoying me. I can't take this anymore. I told you I had class all day. Yes, I have classes every single day. Okay, I'll send you my schedule. I already suggested that, but you didn't want it. Why don't you go ahead and call the university? Yes, of course, I wear my veil when I go to university. Okay, Mum, that's enough. I've had enough.
After wavering for a few months, the regime has gone back on the offensive against the woman, life, freedom movement. The supreme leader douses us with state propaganda.
برای بانوان پوشاندن غیر از صورت و دو دست وجه و کفین واجبه. چیزی که از این صرف نظر نمیشه کرد. مردم ما مسلمانن، مقیدن، متعبدن، بانوان ما متعبدن. باید رعایت کنن حکم شرع.
In the streets, the regime cracks down harder than ever. Almost everywhere, intelligence surveillance cameras are supposed to spot and identify women who don't wear the veil. Arbitrary arrests rise as efforts to stamp out resistance intensify. No one is safe. Virginie, it's me. I was arrested, but I managed to escape. I hid for a few days. I hope you didn't try and contact me. They took my phone and my camera. If they ever find out that I've been speaking to a Westerner...
I'm so happy to hear from you. I couldn't stand waiting any longer. As promised, I didn't send you any messages. Don't worry.
I started to realize how many people had fallen victim to the regime's clampdown by reading foreign newspapers. Almost 600 deaths in protests. including several dozen children. More than 20,000 people reportedly arrested. A dozen or so already executed.
وصیت‌نامه چی نوشتی شما؟ کجا خاکم کنن؟ دوست ندارم گریه کنن سر مزار. دوست نداری قرآن بخونن؟ دوست نداری برات نماز بخونن؟ دیگه نماز نخونن. شادی کنن. آهنگ شاد بخ.
Others wait their turn as death nears. And then there are those who have simply disappeared, like Carve, the taxi driver.
They can all go to hell.
Each day, his mother does the rounds, visiting different police stations and prisons to try and find some trace of him.
They force me to wear the chador, this cursed mandatory hijab. I have to wear it when I speak to the authorities. I hope they all go to hell. I only have one son. I'd give my life for him. I can't sit down and wait. And what if they just give me his dead body, like they have done for so many others? How are you? Is everything okay? I've arrived. I'm next to the tribunal right now. And no one will give me any kind of response.
They won't give you an answer.
When I give them his name, they say he isn't there at all. What should I do? They're going to kill my son.
No, that won't happen. Don't cry. We're going to find a solution.
Please, do something. I beg you.
First of all, I'm going to see if I can find him. At least to find out if he's alive or not.
They told me to look in every single prison, one by one. But which ones?
Time passes by. It's now 8 months since the uprising began. We had hoped the regime would fall rapidly, but we understand now that it'll take much longer. With each passing day, daily life becomes more and more unbearable in Iran. Caught between international economic sanctions and corrupt leaders who steal whatever wealth is left, the population sinks into poverty. Posters like these that begin flourishing in big Iranian cities reveal the depth of our misery, proposing organs in exchange for money. As the surveillance and repression worsens, the protests become rarer. But a new form of resistance takes shape. Perhaps less spectacular, but just as bold and courageous. When she's not working on her art, the young painter Golbahar tries to keep alive the flame of hope.
If I'm writing these little messages, it's because right now Iranians are weighed down by sadness and anger too heavy for their shoulders to carry. With this, I want to remind you that we must keep hope alive. Sometimes daily life is so hard. But the simple fact that there are so many of us, that we're there for each other, eases our burden and makes it bearable.
An initiative that may seem harmless from a Western viewpoint, but one that could risk her years of prison. After searching in vain for weeks, the mother of Kaveh, the taxi driver, holds on to each and every sign of hope.
So now I'm going to a market. It's called the Devil's Market. I was told that I could find white pigeons there. So that's what I'm looking for now, a white pigeon. I'll release it and hope that my son will also be freed.
دست درد نکنه.
We have a lot of hope, and I'm sure that our revolution will prevail.
As for Mitra and Arash, they defy the regime by living their love story out in the open.
On television, religious figures say that if we have a drought, it's because we don't respect the obligation to wear the hijab. That angers God. But since women removed their veils, it rains far more often. This year, it rained a lot here, to such an extent that there's now a river running right through our city. Arash and I have decided to go for a walk. I told him that I wanted to go without my veil.
These are nice moments, but at the same time, I always worry that something will happen.
At any moment, the police can arrest me because I'm not wearing the veil. Or a member of the Revolutionary Guards can kill me from far away. But removing my veil and walking bareheaded lets me feel free. Especially alongside my boyfriend. It's also a way of protesting publicly against the regime.
I went to the tribunal this morning, and they told me that the letter authorizing Kaveh's release had arrived, but they didn't hand him over to me. Since then, I've been waiting here, but he still hasn't come out. There he is. He's there. That's him. Hello, my son.
mother.
How are you, my darling? My baby.
They're going to jump on us if we stay here.
Karve, you promised me you'd be careful.
I was careful, Mum. It wasn't my fault.
You have no idea what I went through during this whole time.
It's my car.
I knew you'd be happy to see it. That's why I brought it. I'm so anxious. It's better if you drive.
I was put in solitary confinement for 40 days. I didn't know where I was. I didn't know whether it was day or night, nor what the time was. There was nobody, and then somebody came to speak to me. I didn't know whether to believe him. He told me he was a judge, and that I'd been sentenced to 20 years in prison.
That's horrifying. Thank God you are free, Karve. Be more careful from now on. Please, we're being watched. I beg you, I can't take it anymore.
They'll end up having to leave sooner or later.
You'll get yourself killed. The slightest misstep and they'll catch you. You have to be careful.
If something happens, I will protest again, until these bastards leave.
Be careful. You won't always be so lucky to come out alive.
It's been 18 months since I started crisscrossing Iran to document the uprising woman, life, freedom. On several occasions, I narrowly escaped arrest. But I feel like the noose is tightening. I'm regularly summoned to the police station. They interrogate my loved ones on my whereabouts and my work. It's time for me to leave. One last time, I soak up these landscapes and smells that have been the backdrop to my life. I don't know what awaits me on the other side of the border. But one thing is for sure. As soon as the Islamic Republic falls, I'll come back home.